And Casey's been one of my best friends since we met in grad school 16 years ago. Throughout these many years, we've had the kinds of adventures and belly laughs and camping trips and counseling sessions that you usually see in a movie montage, usually with like Stand By Me playing in the background. So it was really hard to think about how I could write a five-minute toast that really did justice to this kind of friendship. And this challenge was compounded by the fact that half my brain cells have seemed to have gone missing since I gave birth to my daughter 3 weeks ago. If I start crying, it's not because I'm a cornball, it's postpartum hormones. But Casey, always the helpful Boy Scout, actually drew me a road map for this evening's toast. At my wedding about a year ago, he gave what was probably the best bridesmaid speech anyone has ever heard. And luckily for me, in Casey's bridesmaid speech, he also gave the formula for a traditional groomsman speech, which basically involves talking about what a jackass the groom is. So this is going to be pretty hard because it's Casey we're talking about, but I'm going to give it my best shot. I'm just kidding. We all know Casey is the opposite of a jackass. He has countless good qualities. And there's not enough time to talk about all of them, so here's a quick sampling. First of all, there is his encyclopedic recall of bands and songs from the 1980s. You know how sometimes you wake up in the morning with like fragments of a song in your head, and it's in your head all day, and it's driving you crazy, and you can't remember the name of it or band that sang it? Casey will save the day every time. And he has flawless taste in music, as shown by his deep and abiding love of the band Crowded House, which he has declared more than once is the best band of all time. And for those of you who might argue for the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, just forget it.
Never heard of them.
No. Who can argue with such ageless hits such as Don't Dream It's Over and Something So Strong? Casey won't be swayed. Oh, by the way, for those of you who are wondering, the answer is the Indigo Girls. Secondly, Casey is always willing to do more than his share. We went on one backpacking trip where he kept offering to carry more group supplies because he had so much extra room in his backpack. So into his pack went another camp stove, a water purifier, tent poles, and on and on. And then a mile down the trail, the reason for the extra space dawned on him, and he called a halt while he circled back to the car where he had left his sleeping bag in the trunk. But the point is, he's a team player, and not just any team player, but usually the MVP.
That's funny.
And thirdly, his healthy self-confidence is tempered by a deep sense of humility. The first time I met Megan, Casey and I were hanging out in Dolores Park. He told me he had invited Megan to come by, and he said he couldn't tell if she was interested in him. And I thought to myself, he's being too modest. You know, how could she not be interested in this good-looking, athletic, funny, smart guy? And I told him, of course she's into you. And a few minutes later, Megan rode up on her bike, and sure enough, it was really hard to tell if she was interested. Good news is that before too long, it became clear to everyone, including Casey, that she was, and he was, and they were. I valued my friendship with Casey because he makes the adventures, postpartum, he makes the adventures more memorable, the belly laughs hurt more. The baby. And the heart-to-heart talks more meaningful. We've gone backpacking in almost every national park in California. We've run through the streets of San Jose while talking about environmental sustainability. That's not even something that should make me cry. Okay. We've jumped up to the little waterfall at the count of 3. We've shared our thoughts about everything from overpopulation to whether tea-flavored ice cream is or is not okay. And we've debated about whether it's worse to be in a tent with Mike Miller when he's had too many beans for dinner, or to be in a yoga class with Mike Miller when he's had too many beans for lunch.
What about the hired man?
Casey truly embodies rare and valuable qualities that have made him a first-class friend and will also make him a first-class spouse. He has impeccable moral character, values, and social conscience. He's always striving to do the right thing, from devoting the last 15 years of his life to turning teenage boys into environmental stewards, to spending his spring breaks building houses in developing countries. And if you're lucky to be among those he counts as his friends or family, he will grace you with his unwavering support. He will always be on your side. He has a good-natured sense of humor that brightens every conversation and every interaction at no one else's expense. and he is always game for new experiences and is fearless in throwing himself into it. This makes him the ideal partner in crime for any harebrained idea you can come up with. Anything you dare to do, he'll dare to do too. And he relentlessly seeks self-improvement. He once said that for him, not making forward progress was the same thing as going backwards. This belief has driven Casey to constantly learn, grow, and expand his horizons. And this is how I knew Megan was the right woman for Casey. She embodies the same strength of character, desire to improve society, and just plain goodness that Casey exemplifies. Among other responsibilities at her job, Megan organizes and leads service trips for her students. This means she spends weekends at homeless shelters with gaggles of teenagers, and weeks traveling in developing countries to learn about life among the less privileged with gaggles of teenagers. And if this isn't proof of her dedication to society, I don't know what is. And on top of this, she manages to match Casey's thirst for adventure and new experiences. As for me, I knew she was the right one when we discovered that we both shared a celebrity crush on one of the boys from The Sound of Music, Curtis Von Trapp.
That's a good one.
Her husband knows him.
The bottom line is that Casey is someone you always want on your team. And luckily for Casey, it's obvious that Megan is always someone you always want on your team. So here's to the new team. We wish you many years of adventure and love and laughter. And don't forget to catch your sleeping bag.
Good job.
Cheers.